Okay, hey folks, welcome to the last keynote of SnapCon. My good friends Nicole and Jens Peter are going to share some of the things. They do so much, like it's hard, like I don't even know what they do. We are involved, like Yatka and me and Bernard, in some of their projects, but they're just about the busiest people I know with regards to outreach of not just STEM education, but actual, computing. And they've started a couple of years ago to basically eat up Snap in everything they do. And so they, all their PhD students are kind of doing something with Snap, and all, their teacher training uses Snap. It's incredible. They are just about the richest, most inventive people I know in Germany with regards to teacher education. So it's my great pleasure to introduce to you Nicole, Marmé, and Jens Peter Knemeyer.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. A warm welcome from us to all people in Berkeley and all over the world. We are very happy to have a keynote today. It's evening now here in Heidelberg, and I think something like morning in Berkeley. So yes, we like to show you some of our projects we are doing in school and at the university, including SNAP. But before we start, I'd like to say something about our background. Jens Peter and the next slide. Yeah. Now you see the next slide. Yeah. We are not computer scientists. So we came from the natural science. We have both a PhD in physical chemistry, and what we did is we developed highly sensitive detection methods, including single molecule spectroscopy for biomolecules such like DNA, proteins, enzymes, and so on, and something completely different from what we now do. We then became, parallel to our work at the university, school teachers, and did research in school things, and as you heard from Jens, all including SNAP. So yeah, and our University of Education is located in Heidelberg, a wonderful city with a world-famous castle. I think some of you know it already, and we also have the old bridge here, and hopefully somewhere in the future we met in Heidelberg again. We had this wonderful conference in 2019, and then Corona came, and we didn't see each other in presence again, but hopefully the next time we have another possibility to meet here. The University of Education has many locations in the city. We are now in the transfer center. It's the third picture on the left, and that's where we are sitting here in the wonderful building. And yeah, the next slide. I show you my group, our group members. This is our team. We have Jan is also sitting here as a project leader. Then we have the administration, it's Claudia and Ines, 3 PhD students, Jan, Wiebke, Alexandra, and we also have students in our group, Verena and Moritz. So they are also here. And what are our research fields? My group is focused in improvement of scientific literacy, computer literacy, and future skills in students, teacher students, and also the kids in school. Another focus is nature of science, and we use methods like environment-based science education and block-based learning. We also develop interdisciplinary projects. One major goal in our group is to bring also women in STEM, so motivate them to think about a career in IT, physics, or chemistry, and so on. We have a lot of cooperations with science centers, and also great focus is in implementing IT in the field of science and technology. We also like to have a creative approach to science and technology. So we are also focused in working on STEAM projects. And beyond all this, we founded 2 companies. One is a nonprofit association. It's called Didaktik Aktuell e.V. And it's focused on the enhancement of students' STEM or STEAM skills at all ages. And last month we founded a new nonprofit limited company, which focused on the establishment and operation of an educational science center. Now it's up to you, Jens-Peter.
Okay, so she already told she's the boss of the group, and that's absolutely right. So we have a lot of different projects in the school area. So our thought is that we have to start with computer science as early as possible. Of course, it's maybe not a good idea to start at first grade already with Snap. Maybe it's possible, but we prefer to use these small robots, these B-bots, that are programmable with just by hitting the buttons on the back, so no computer is needed. But that's not the topic of today. Then we switched in 2nd and 3rd grade to these robots called Dash. Maybe you know that. That's a perfect thing because these robots are programmed via tablets with a block-based programming environment, very similar optically to Snap. So that's a good transition to real Snap. And there's a program called License. So the kids make a driver license for this robot, and it's a self-learning program which works perfectly well in elementary school. And then, of course, you can switch on 4th grade to Snap, or you all know that these amazing math stuff which were developed from Goldberg, I guess, right? So it's not our own stuff, but that's really amazing. And from this point in middle school and secondary school types, then you know that you're a specialist there. You have all this beauty and joy of computing thing. Then we should use Snap. So in the secondary school, we focus really on other projects for female students, to motivate them, as Nicole already told you. And we have 2 projects. The one is the Girls Digital Camps for students from 6th to 9th grade. And the second project is the so-called Zora. It's a future academy for career orientation. So on these 2 projects, I would like to show you in a minute. Okay, so that's the first one, the Girls Digital Camps, which is founded by the Ministry of Economics of Baden-Württemberg. And the focus is, or the goal is the enhancement of media and computer literacy. And it's open to all girls in 6th to 9th grade in the federal state of Baden-Württemberg. And the approach was a couple of years ago to combine online courses and courses in person. So we started with courses in person, and then came Corona, and we had to switch everything to online. On the left-hand side, you see just a picture of the girls working really in person on, I think they work on web design or something like that. And then we had to switch everything to Zoom presentations and so on, and to online courses via Moodle and so on and so forth. So the topics of these Girls Digital Camps are, first of all, digital communication. We made some stuff with digital communication because the girls have to learn how to use Zoom, how to use emails, and all this stuff for the digital world. Then we had courses for social media, coding and art, where Snap came into place, robotics, where you can also use Snap or Snap for Arduino or something like that. So video editing, web design, and computer science and fashion, which is really loved by the girls, for sure. So, oh, that's wrong. So as I told you, the coding and art is the first project where Snap really came into place. Before Corona, we did that in a way that the girls visited a museum here. It was a museum with an exhibition of Egypt and everything around Egypt. They took some photographs and then they used these photographs and modified them via Snap and get some pictures like in the bottom left. And the idea for that was born actually, yeah, in a meeting with Jatka and Jens a couple of years ago in Stuttgart. And yeah, we did that for that course. And the next thing here is, did we skip something? No, I didn't.
No.
So the next project was the Future IT Academy, which is founded by the Klaus Tschira Foundation here in Heidelberg. It's pretty similar in the goals, but we are more focused on career orientation because the female pupils are older. It's from 10th grade up, and it's usually organized in 3 to 4 day academies with topics like computer research in economics and yeah, IT in economic and research, microcontroller art, app development, and this kind of stuff. Also including a lot of Snap
A side
things.
fact, Klaus Tschira is one of the SAP founder.
Yeah, but already everybody should know that, right? At least here in this room. Okay. Just some impression for that academy, microcontroller and art. We used therefore Snap for Arduino to program yeah, Arduino. And this particular project was carried out in the Experimenter Science Center, which is the biggest science center here in Germany, in Heilbronn. And to that time, the National Garden Show was in Heilbronn as well. So the students had to make an interactive artwork somehow correlated to the National Garden Show. So they built some plants that are reactive. People come and say something or lighting up or whatever. Okay, so next one. Yeah, one other thing here was academy called the Academy for App Development. So in this academy, they learned the basics of app development, which is also or can be done block-based with the MIT App Inventor. And we always try to include some companies because of the career orientation. In this case, it was NextX, a small startup here in Heidelberg that are developing an app for career orientation, kind of social media-based career orientation, which is pretty nice. But we're also doing with the girls and also with other kids, Snap and Co around the year. We had an Easter Academy and a Christmas Academy, Christmas coding. But it's not only coding, but also basics in electronics. So especially during the Corona pandemic, we sent the kids some packages with LEDs and resistances and everything like this, so that they can build with our courses. Yeah, these Oster decoration, but they also should code some Easter cards. I'll give you an example how they look like. That's the wrong one. Okay. Yeah, this is this one. You see that? Yeah. So sorry, it's just in German because yeah, that's for the Christmas coding. Yeah. So that's done by the kids. Yeah, it's nothing really special, but you have to take into account that they just started with Snap and it was an online course.
Also with the English language.
Yeah, whatever. So, okay, let's go back to the presentation. Okay, so we all do these special events, so we can go to the next. So one more thing which is not related to these two courses, but we are interested in interdisciplinary approaches. So we developed a SNAP course called Smart City. And there are a lot of SNAP topics are included, not that much like in the VGC, but yeah, a lot of topics. And this course is special in the case of that every IT topic, every SNAP topic is directly correlated to a topic in physics. So there we have the interdisciplinarity, and this is also a Moodle course, including learning videos, H5P content, exercises, tests, and so on. And I can show you also a project that came out of this course, just to see what happens there. So the smart city has batteries, solar panels, and wind turbines, and everything like this. Just open the next one. It's this smart city thing. Oh, I have to click on the red on the green thing here. Yeah, so now it's running. You see the battery and the solar thing. If the sun raises, the solar cells are working, and the battery is filling, and so on and so forth. So it's a simulation of energy in a smart city. And that's what the course is all about. Okay. Where's my presentation now? Here. So if you have more questions about this course, Alexandra is here. She did that. So do you want to say something about the innovation tank? Okay, we just founded this innovation tank company, non-profit, in order to do the science center, and it's working in a way that certain topics that are relevant for future, like energy or mobility or something like that, that these topics are prepared in school. Then the school classes about these topics is that they all have to combine computer science and also other STEM fields, so interdisciplinary. Then the classes with the future lab that we will build up there. And after that, we also have some stuff for follow-up in schools, for example. So they made the experiments in the lab, and the data analysis and discussion and so on can be done in school again afterwards. It's coming soon. We are currently renting these rooms, but then we have to build up all the stuff. So maybe more about that next time. So everything I told you before was for school kids, but as Jens already mentioned before, we always try to implement SNAP or block-based programming in the higher education, so in the training of student teachers. In all seminars that we are doing in the primary and secondary school, we try to implement some block-based stuff. So mostly SNAP, but also microblock SNAP for Arduino, or the Dash robot I mentioned before. That's integrated in all seminars. One other focus is there that we always try to make interdisciplinary projects in these lectures and to combine it with block-based programming. And I just want to give you some examples. So I have to mention that there are no computer scientists in these lectures, or mostly that are physicists, chemistry students, biology students, and everything.
Yeah.
But no computer scientists. So here are some examples what students have done in projects that are related to chemistry. They used the microblocks, the microbits, to measure the pH value of acids and bases. They used the CO2 sensor to measure CO2 in the upper left, where the candle is in the tube, and produce the CO2, which sinks on the ground, and then you can measure the CO2. They also built up a distillation thing there, where the temperature is measured via the sensor, and yeah, so they can automate the things there. There are some projects where the students learn about the chemical stuff, but also learn something about computation and using block-based things. So, and our hope is that they will transport their knowledge into school and do also some snap with their students in school. Some more projects related to physics. We have two projects I will show you in a minute. The first one is the refraction of light at prism, and the second is graphical vector addition. So let's start with the first. So this is done by physics students, and yeah, the topic was optics and the light at the prism. He set up this project where you can move the wizard here to some point where the light should come out, and if you start the project there, then you see what happens at the prism, and also the angles are calculated here. The ingoing angle and the outgoing angle, and also total reflection should be possible. Let's try that. Should be something like here. That's total reflection going in there. Let's see. Yeah, it is a total reflection here. So they learn about optics and doing some snap stuff. And the other project is the addition of vectors. Of course, you can do that with, I don't know, it's a single line of code to add vectors. But the goal here was to do that like you learn it in school, so that you have some vectors, then you shift the vectors and measure the resulting vector. So that's how the graphic things work. And what they come up with is the following. So again, it's in German. So first of all, you have to choose the unit. So it should be force. So we take kilonewton. Then you have to choose the Maßstab. This is forgot that. The scale, sure. You have to use the scale. What's your longest vector, or the vector you expected? Let's say it's 100 kilonewtons. Okay, then you get the scale above there. Then you can type in the first vector. So what's going on? So let's say it's 50 kilonewton. That's the first vector. And the angle you have to determine as well. So 30 degrees, then you get a vector there. Let's take a second. 70 and 100. And maybe a third one. That's 90. 150. Oh, okay, one. That doesn't matter. We take these. So, and now you have to shift this vector to see what happens. So you can just grab it, say, okay, this one has to go here. And this one I will shift. Yeah, that's it. And now you, oh no, you have to shift it here. So, and the resulting vector should be this one. The students can also try to. Oh, that doesn't work. So usually they can take, okay, this is the resulting vector, but you also can calculate it and make it visible. Oh, that's no, okay. So this is the resulting vector, and you get also
okay.
right?
Yeah.
It's now not seen, but you get the angle and the amount of the vector. So they can prove if everything is right. They can play around and have a look like these graphical addition of vectors are working. Where's my presentation now? It's okay, so we have one last project, which is more interdisciplinary and focused on biology. So it's vertical farming or indoor farming, which is very important for the future to feed the world. And in this seminar, the students have to construct a glass house, which is controlled by microcontrollers for the water and so on. They learn about basics of plant growing. And in this seminar, we also integrated the microcontroller, so the programming of the microcontroller, but also some snap simulations. That's the last one I will show you. So the question here is, we would like to have a water collecting container and just to collect the rainwater. So what the dimension of this container has to be that it works very efficiently. So they should write a simulation for this container. There are, of course, several parameters. That's the last I would like to show you. How long do I have for this? So this is the last one. Half an hour. I'll be so fast, yeah. So we have a longer break, so I don't have to have it here. Okay, this one. Do that. See something. Okay, we have several parameters here. So again, it's in German, very small. I don't know if you can see that. So you can say how big, what the value should be of this container. You can choose what's the probability of raining and how much it rains. You have to choose how much water do I need every day. And then you can run the simulation, and what you get is how much water I can use from this container, how much water I have to use additionally to this water of the container, how much water, how much is the overflow of the container and all the stuff. Just by running that. Why is it not working here? Oh, now it's working. Okay. Yeah, all these values changes here. So if it's raining, it's adding water, and every day with just sun and water is going away. And I don't know why it stopped, but it doesn't matter. So it's also a project from the students. So they can do a lot of stuff with this simulation. Yeah, and because we are so fast, we have a lot of time for questions or a longer break. Thank you.
Discussion. Yeah, thank you.
So I think we're going to open this up for questions now. Yeah, I'm going to mute myself.
That's okay.
There were a bunch of projects that were really, really interesting. And they seemed like you were using Snap not so much as something for your students to build or to remix, but there were a bunch of simulations like the light refraction or the kind of, water simulation that we're actually using Snap projects as a medium to explore, much as you would use a, say, P5. Is it called P5? No, what is it called?
HP5.
HP5.
HP5, right? Yeah, HP5
HP5,
simulation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
HP5P. Yeah, that's way wrong.
Yeah, I think it's a combination. So the projects are made by the students.
Yeah.
Not all, but some with a little bit of help. So it's not programmed very cleanly, but the students get some basics Snap in every lecture before the lecture starts.
And they are not programmer. They are not IT students.
Yeah, and then they really think, okay, let's do something about optics. So the idea was doing this reflection, and then they start to program something. So they have sometimes very awkward codes, but who cares? It works. Yeah, so they learn programming and learn about optics.
Oh, so the misunderstanding was entirely on my side. I thought you had given them those projects, but they were actual students. Well, that is even more awesome. Wow.
Yeah. So with this simulation of this rain container, we gave them some elements, but they have to finish that. That really depends on. So it's all kinds of things. But mostly they do the stuff by their own.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for clarifying that.
And when they started my seminar, they don't have any basics in programming. So
wow.
From the
cool.
bottom.
So Dan mentioned that it was clear to him all along. So maybe it was just my misconception.
No, I was saying it was my misconception also, Jens. I was agreeing with you.
Okay.
That misconception was mine as well. I have a question. Nicole, you have, I think when we met in Heidelberg, you had talked about a girls-only education. And I want to hear a little bit more about that, whether that's continued and how well you have done with that, because I think that's a really fascinating space to not let the boys at a certain age overwhelm the young girls at that age, and to let them isolate. Like we have girls who code, which is that spirit, which means you only allow young girls in a space and let them do that without having to have the boys own that space. You want to talk to them about that? That's exciting.
Yeah, sure. As Jens Peter showed you, we have the two projects. One is the girls' digital camps. It started at grade 6 to grade 9 or 10. And for the older one, we have also a project which is like an academy where they come for several days in holiday time or in the afternoon after school, and they learn how to program and develop own projects. And we have just finished an academy, Snap Academy, and it was a great pleasure for us that the teacher in the last academy was Jens and Jatka. So the last 4 days, we also had girls here programming Snap, finding their way into this block-based language, and they were very excited to learn it. So from the best they can learn, and it was great for us. And so we have the whole year we have academies for the girls, and hope that they will find the way into a career in informatics or something like that, like technical
and especially in the girls' digital camps that we had to run online during the last 2 years. So we had in our courses I don't know, something around 300 students, or maybe a little bit more. I don't know exactly, but it's obvious that it's better than if you do that only with girls, especially in these online courses. So maybe you have the same experience in your teaching. If you do teaching online, all the screens are off. You have black things there over and over again. I don't know why, if they are ashamed or whatever, I don't know. But we really managed it with the girls, with these courses, digital communication, that all the screens are on, you see every face. And I think that would be much more difficult if you have boys and girls then, for example. It's not just the computer science stuff, but also these things.
And what's the ideal age to mix them together? You'd keep girls only for a certain age and then mix at some, what would be, what's that crossover age that you found?
So yeah.
What we do is we give additionally courses to school. So in school they are mixed, and when they come to us, they are just girls. So we have programs just for the girls, and that's what it makes, I think, very special. And here they can work on their own project, create what they want to, and we also have topics that are very interesting for girls, like computer and fashion, and so on. And creating Christmas cards, combining it with art.
But from research point of view, you really should separate the girls, if possible, from 7th to 9th grade. That's the most critical thing. And if they have the confidence to work by their own and see, okay, I can do that. So I'm good at computer science. I'm good at physics and chemistry or whatever. Then you can mix it in the K-12 things. But if they do not have the confidence, then you also see in the 10th, 11th grade that there's a huge difference if you have them all together or separate them. Then it's also okay to separate them. But if you separate them in the earlier stages, hopefully you can mix it up again in the K-12.
Yeah, in the adolescence.
Yeah. There you have to. So we have a raised hand there.
Margot.
Hi, yes, I'm Margot. I'm from Germany, and I teach coding to primary school kids. And I hear this argument all the time that we have to promote coding for girls and blah, 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 and make special courses only for them. And in my experience, it's when you start early enough, then it doesn't matter, because the girls are at least as good as boys. I mean, they are more shy, they are more diligent, they are more like they are not like the boys who say, oh yeah, I can do this, and they try it out and blah, blah, blah. And then they seem to know more than the girls, and that's not true. And I think it's just because there was no coding education before, then we now have this problem, that we have to promote coding classes only for girls. But I think if we start early enough, then we wouldn't have this problem. I mean, there are some topics where girls like, maybe a project that girls like more than boys, but we have all this history of Lego coding, Lego League with this Star Wars stuff or Mars exploration and things like that. It's targeted for boys, and if you do more creative things and with tinkering and with like drawing and stuff and projects like this, then it's much more appropriate for girls. And there is a kind of distinction between boys and girls, right? But you have to tackle this in the right way, and if you start early enough, I think there wouldn't be this problem.
Yeah, we completely with you.
So then in the primary school, there's no difference between boys and girls. So you don't have to separate them there. That's for sure. But hopefully, and we don't suggest that at all. So in primary school, you should do that together. The girls are, the same than the boys. And the thing, you have to separate it a little bit later. But hopefully, you're right. If we're doing this programming stuff already in primary school, that's not necessary even in the middle school to separate them.
Yeah, I think it's also maybe a special German problem, because natural sciences are not are always thought for girls, not to be suited for girls. You know, I went to a like neusprachliches Gymnasium, so not a math oriented gymnasium, and we had teachers who said, yeah, you are only girl, and it was a girls' school also. And they say, okay, you are girls, you don't have to know much about math, you know. And this is, yeah, so I don't know. And I think it's different in other countries. When you see women in science, there are more women from other countries in science than from Germany in many subjects.
So therefore, we need role models for the small world.
Yeah, true. Okay.
Yeah, in Germany, the girls think that scientists are boring, working in the basement without light, have no friends, no time, no social life, and will not help anybody. So that's the problem.
Okay.
We have something in the chat?
No.
No. So are there more questions or comments?
Looking at the chat. In England, computing is 50-50 up to age 14. But it drops to age 16. Same thing in England, yeah. Okay.
That's right.
And what about the US? Is it the same thing with girls?
But Rolf has a question. Rolf?
Thank you. But I think Nicole asked a question to our friends from the United States, right? If that's also an issue, maybe the participants from Berkeley and the United States should maybe comment on Nicole's question. Can you repeat your question, Nicole?
So, yeah, I thought if it's the same problem in the US.
With no girls in computer science?
Glasgow.
Or is it better than in Germany?
Or England.
Well, I don't want to speak for all of us, but it's certainly not 50-50 up to some age. It is skewed from the beginning in the U.S. It's remarkably bad. Everything we hear, you know, a lot of folks are on the ground in this conference trying to make that difference and trying to make changes there. But it's not like we are 50-50 until some age and we lose them, as in England. It is not that way at all. The feeling that computing is a boys thing and hardware is a boys thing is persistent for every age. And so we're all trying to work to change that. And getting into schools, like mandating it in schools is one way to make that difference. So if you require everybody to touch some computer science every year, New York City has been wonderful. CS NYC is the CS for all in New York City. And they mandate some touch of computer science every single year. It was like a big project that we part of the BJC for NYC project, but that was huge. So, and Chicago schools require that every single graduate from the Chicago Public Schools, which is one of the biggest school districts in our country, Brenda Wilkerson was the lead of that group, and she said everybody has to take a computer science course before they graduate. That was unheard of. Nobody had a required CS course, so that gets into every single person. And we also have not just the gender mismatch, but we also have demographics. We're certainly not as equal in terms of the different races and ethnicities. So by making it to everybody has to do it, that makes a big difference. And that's what we all believe is the move. The way forward is to require it of everybody. But then you have to get the teachers prepared and all those things, which is everybody's helping with it as well.
Yeah, it's the same situation here.
Yeah.
You can do school without a lot of computer science classes. You have to do 1 year here in Baden-Württemberg, but not all in all federal states in Germany. But you can come through the school with very little knowledge about computer science.
You know.
And one of the things people have found, because you can't add a lot of courses to the K-12 space, a lot that's really packed, is to infuse it like you're doing. You infuse it in science, you infuse it in math, like it's just wonderful to see computing infused as you're doing in all of the sciences and math courses, as well as maybe a dedicated CS course when you're in high school. But having it infused is the right way to get it to K6 at least, and then middle school maybe you can have a dedicated CS course, and if you're lucky you have a couple of CS courses in high school, but you got to infuse it in K6 as much as you can.
Yeah,
and I love the work you're doing.
But for that, you have to have a computer science class where the kids learn the basics. I think that's really important. So then you can infuse this and let them apply their knowledge in other subjects. That would be the most ideal situation, I guess.
Yeah.
Because there's no time to learn really the coding in the other subjects. They have to learn that in separate computer classes, and then they can apply it in other subjects and train it.
Yep. And I think what you've shown is like you can start even in K6 by having them use it like a kiosk mode. You know, in presentation mode, you're using it, a simulation. You don't know how the code works, but you're using it. And then maybe you're changing it. So you're not writing it from scratch, you're changing it. And when you get more sophisticated, then you make your own optics simulator. But you're changing it. Oh, change the color, change this. And, oh, wow, this is not too scary. I'm changing something, like as we all do. You know, the idea of sharing is just so wonderful. I take this and I change something, and now I feel like, wow, I own that, even though I really didn't write most of it. So I love it.
So now Raul.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So I think that you are physical chemists and not computer scientists is really an asset, right? And you could even make more out of it because you surprised the audience already in doing this crossover thing, like using Snap for chemical analysis instruments in the lab. And I totally agree with Dan. This is really, you are then training and teaching computer sciences just by the way, right? On the way. And I think I'm also scratching my head sometimes that I think if we, so I would like, so my background is physics. I'm a standard physics teacher in my school, but I'm also responsible for scientific computing, and we do a lot of really data engineering, you can say, for the students who are non-computer scientists to download CSV files or crappy text files and to learn to convert it to something useful in Python in this case, right? But what I really feel and what I also observe in the Fab Labs we have and in the courses we are doing together with schools, this is a side activity of our university, is that usually girls try to do something useful when you let them create their own games in Snap. It has something to do with curing, caring, healing, something like this, right? So basically more for the good, for the common interest, whereas boys tend to do racing games or ego shooters or whatsoever, right? I think this is really a difference. But I think that when we use something like Snap or other programming languages, just as a tool, we don't put it into the focus, but we just do it as a side effect in a chemist's class or a physics class, chemistry class or physics class, then I'm sure that we can convince the girls that this is very useful and helpful. Not by its own, right? The focus would not be studying computer science, but to use software to solve real world problems I, as a girl, am interested in, right? So I think that this crossover approach between, and I think we also have to distinguish the STEM disciplines, right? So it's not just computer science and the rest. There is a difference between chemistry and biology and ecology and math and physics and computer science. But I think that we can basically mix them more, and I think that computer science can be even a kind of umbrella or a parenthesis around all these disciplines when we mix it and we don't put the computer science in the center, but the application of the computer science into the center. And then my hope is that then also the boys, on the other hand, would get more interested in ecology, right? Not just programming games or so, but that they also get aware of how can I use my skills for the common good. Artificial intelligence and machine learning and all the stuff, right? You can do crazy things and dangerous things and harmful things, destructive things, but you can also do good things with that, right? And I think that can be basically a kind of interpollination between the two views on the application. Sorry for this.
It's also important that the kids learn that computer science skills are really needed, even if I want to be a good chemist or physics guy or biologist or whatever. So computer science are really needed. So that's also one important thing of integrate them into these fields.
Yeah, but it's more than that. You don't just say you have to learn computer science because it's important. It's the experience, right? You go to the lab, you have a measurement device, and how can I measure this pH value? Yeah, there is this probe, and unfortunately, we don't have a program. You have to program that thing. Okay, I do that, right? And then it's really implicit. You are basically transporting and conveying the message implicitly, not by pointing to it. Learn your computer science stuff because it's important. But hey, I need a computer to solve my current problem here, right? That's a different approach.
So Margot has.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, we talk about computer science and stuff and jobs related to that, but I think there are so many jobs in the future we don't know yet, you know, where you all need computing skills. And it's so important, and especially now everybody showed something with AI. I mean, that's so overwhelming now, and it will grow bigger and bigger, and you have to have a feeling for it, yeah, in order to know what is true and what is false. And I think this is very important also to teach the skills, as Rolf also said. I mean, it's not just to apply it in now our things we know. I mean, there will things we don't know yet, and I think this is very important, that the kids grow up with this and they know something about. And I tried to do something with AI also in 4th grade, and I think it worked. Yeah, it was very basic and everything, but yeah, I'm very proud that I did this, and I think the kids enjoyed it, and now they have like a feeling for it. And I showed them pictures from this website. This person does not exist, and they said, oh yeah, I know this boy, you know, he's in the playground always after school. I saw him, and I said, okay, yeah, I'm sure that you never saw this boy because this boy does not exist. And they were, wow, why? And yeah, so they get a feeling of it. It's not that they code something and use a code I made before in Make Code, and then they just entered the faces, the names of their classmates, where they took the pictures with the Husky lens camera, and then they saw the result, you know. And it was, they didn't code much, but they had the feeling that they were coders, and it's cool and it's something meaningful. And yeah, I think that's the way we have to integrate it into their lives, that they also like it and that they get interested in it, and not just like doing boring coding lessons.
So I don't know, have we something else?
Otherwise,
Or
questions, but I would like to thank you all, because this has turned into a very lively discussion now, with particularly also with the folks in Germany who are chiming in. So this, it goes to show kind of, you know, your influence that you have here, and that you've really struck upon something very important, a very important discussion here, and that your work really is kind of like a lighthouse here. So again, folks, let's thank Nicole and
thank you.
Peter for taking your job.